Get my screen shared and we'll get going.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Welcome to the Board of Zoning Appeals members, staff, and guests. We ask for your patience during the virtual meeting. Multiple staff members are behind the scenes to make sure all applicants and citizens are able to communicate with the board at the appropriate times.
Board members and applicants are participating via Zoom. Some are using video and all are using audio. I will unmute applicants when case is called if they have any issues unmuting themselves. And everyone, please just be aware of your audio and be mindful of anything going on in the background of your screen just to eliminate any distractions. The public may participate in this meeting in a number of ways. So we have the option to watch via our city TV, communicate via email, call in on the phone, or log in to our publicinput.com. To stream the meeting on the city TV, you can go to youtube.com/user/ColumbiaSCGovernment. You also have the option to just go to the city homepage, and there'll be a red ticker at the top of the screen. If you click that, it'll take you right to the streaming. During the meeting, up until a case goes into board discussion, you're welcome to submit letters and statements via email to our COC board meeting at columbiasc.gov. Staff is monitoring that, and we will read any of those statements into the record during the meeting. Phone, you can call in to 1-855-925-2801. Once prompted, you'll enter in the code of 7959. And then you'll have several options. So the first option you're going to want to do is hit *1, which will just take you through to listen. If you're unable to stay on to listen to the meeting, but you would like to leave a recorded voice message before you go, you can hit *2, and it will let you record a 3-minute voice message that will be played in during the specific case. Just make sure that you speak clearly and you let us know the name and case info, such as address, so we know which case you're calling on. And if you would like to speak to the board while a case is being reviewed, once that case is called, please hit *3. And that'll place you in the queue. What staff will see is a little hand raised. That places you in the queue and lets us know that you wish to speak on that case. But please wait until your case is called, as staff cannot tell just from looking at the screen which case you want to speak on. So to make sure you get patched through on the right case, just wait till your case is called. And you can do that at any time. So you can also go to publicinput.com/COCBOZA-October. That takes you to public input, where you can also stream the meeting if unable to go to YouTube. Just make sure if you're calling in while also streaming on your computer, mute your computer audio so that there's no playback issues or double volume. And also just please keep in mind there's an audio delay between Zoom and the live recording that's being streamed on City TV and public input. So we will be pausing at certain times to allow that audio to catch up and to give citizens time to submit any comments or to hit *3 to speak to the board. I'll go ahead and do roll. Mr. Sally?
Here.
Mr. Dinkins?
Here.
Mr. Speed?
Here.
Mr. Primus?
Here.
Ms. Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Schaefer?
Here.
Mr. Gregory?
Here.
We have quorum.
Applicants with requests before the Board of Zoning Appeals are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but is not limited to, an overview of the project, the case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. This time limit does not include any questions asked by the Board of Zoning Appeals or staff regarding requests. Any member of the general public may address the board in intervals of 3 minutes or 5 minutes if a spokesperson for an established body of a group of 3 or more. The applicant will then have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The board reserves the right to amend these procedures on a case-by-case basis.
So just to piggyback on what Mr. Sally said, we do have the timers, so you'll hear a buzzer go off when your time is up. If you're in the middle of a thought, Mr. Sally or other members of the board can either extend your time, or we will thank you for your feedback at that time. The board uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. If a member of the board or the public wishes to discuss an item on the consent agenda, the item is removed and placed on the regular agenda. The board then approves the remaining consent agenda items. We will review the consent agenda now. The first matter is the approval of the September 3rd, 2020 minutes. We have a special exception for 2509 Magnolia Street. This is 2020-0050. Special exception to permit a single family residence in a commercial district. Case 2020-0052 for 1618 Graham Drive. This is a variance to the maximum fence height requirement. Case 2020-0054. This is a variance for 1313 Veterans Road. This is a variance to the street protective yard and vehicular surface area interior landscaping requirements for a trucking use. Case 2020-0055 for 2530 Wilmot Avenue. This is a variance to the secondary front yard setback for an addition to a single family residence. Case 2020-0056 for 1410 Blanding Street, Unit 203. This is a special exception to permit a beauty salon in the C1 district. Does anyone wish to have a case removed from the consent agenda prior to the board vote? So we will take a minute to give those on public input time to get audio caught up and let us know if anyone's on the phone or has submitted letters during this time. Erica, do you have anybody standing by to speak to the board? Let me make sure she's not muted on
No,
here.
there's no one wishing to speak at this time.
Great.
Have any letters come through?
No letters.
All right, thank you.
All right. So is anybody on the board wishing anything to be removed from the consent agenda? I don't hear anyone say anything, so I will entertain a motion then. That.
Chuck, I'll make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
Have a motion and a second.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Motion passes. And for those applicants that were on here from the consent agenda, please feel free to log off. You're welcome to stay, but you do not have to stay if you do not want to. And we'll move on to our regular agenda. Mr. Chairman, we will use the following outline for our regular agenda items. So staff will introduce the case. Applicant will then have their 10 minutes to make a presentation. The board may ask questions during and after that presentation. And then the public will be allowed to participate via email, voicemail, or phone comment. Then the applicant will have their opportunity for rebuttal prior to board discussion and action by the board. Our first case on the regular agenda is case 2020-0053. This is for 3818 Divine Street, as well as 600 and 630 Kilbourne Road. This is a special exception to establish a liquor store. I do want to state a few things before I turn it over to the applicant. The main request is for 3818 Divine Street. This is not a request to place anything in the pharmacy building or on the other parcels. It is a group commercial development, so that is the only reason we listed all three parcels. But again, the request is for 3818 specifically to be attached to the existing building for the store. I also want to state this is not, the board is not reviewing an application to either remove the existing tenant or anything along those means. This is specifically a request to establish a liquor store. There's a specific store that is requesting this, but all special exceptions run with the land. So it is not specific to a tenant. Zoning is also not tenant specific. So I just wanted to set that out before we get started. With that, if the applicant is present, they're welcome to begin their 10-minute discussion. And I think I saw her on here. I'll see if I can unmute her. Denise, it looks like you're muted if you're able to unmute yourself. There you go. It looks like you're unmuted now.
Okay. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I've called in via phone, so I didn't want to relay with the computer audio. Let me know if you receive any feedback. But thank you to you and the board for listening to our presentation. I'm calling about the establishment of Lidl, which is a retail grocery chain that is looking to renovate the existing Piggly Wiggly building and be the tenant there. And part of their market for that they want to have in this building is proposing to have a portion of the store as a very small liquor store. And this is it's less than 500 square feet, which is much smaller than your typical ABC stores. The intent of this liquor store is not to serve or is not to have large quantities of alcohol. It's not going to be, there's no backstock of this liquor store. It's not meant to have a full broad spectrum of liquor. This is meant to show some of Lidl's specialty alcohols, things that they have won awards on. It's a very small, more of a display area. Liquor will be available for purchase, but it's meant to show specialty items and not serve mass quantities. And their intent is that this would be for people that are already at their store, because it is such specialty items there. Through the studies that they've had on traffic flow at other buildings like this, it's not attracting extra traffic. It's someone that's there and, wants to try out something that's very different because they're already there for their shopping experience. Some of the comments, like I said, we've received, I'll pull up my own summary here. And you had mentioned the clarification that we are not proposing to do anything to the Long's drugstore. Some of the comments in regards to traffic. I know that this location here used to be called a social Piggly Wiggly, and the purpose of this Lidl is to be simply a grocery store, not a gathering location. So we see that there will be no additional traffic due to this liquor store. Again, it's very small and specialty items. They have studied the traffic flow and researched the residents that are in the area, and have noticed that because of the aesthetic of the Piggly Wiggly sort of over the years not being kept up to the level of aesthetic of other grocery stores that are nearby, residents are actually driving more to go to other locations rather than staying in this neighborhood and shopping at the store. And because Lidl is known to be a very clean aesthetic and high standards of cleanliness and really competitive prices, they see that when their stores move into areas, it keeps shoppers nearby. And because this is near a residential area, we see that shoppers will be able to walk to this location potentially. There were, letters saying that they don't want to have a liquor store here that sets a precedent, but there are already liquor stores nearby, so this location would not be setting a precedent. And again, this is not a typical large-scale, full-service ABC store. Very small footprint with specialty items there. There's mention of this location being adjacent to a school or church, but as mentioned in the letter, there are already liquor stores in the area. So I believe this to be a non-issue. It's a liquor store, so there would not be anyone allowed under the legal drinking age in the store anyway. So I do not see this as any way of attracting anyone that's underage any more than any other store. Beer and wine is sold within the store, and the only reason that there is a whole separate, I'll say, retail box for this liquor store is due to ABC license and code requirements that there has to be a separate entrance from the grocery store for any liquor that's sold. Otherwise, they would have had this contained within the grocery store along with the beer and wine. There were comments about, the Piggly Wiggly is part of the local community there and not wanting to see that support go away. Lidl is also a big proponent of supporting the local community. They purchase goods and produce from local farmers when at all possible. They have done market research to show that actually when Lidl moves into a community, competitor grocery stores actually have to lower their prices to compete with Lidl's low prices. So not only is this benefiting those that want to shop at this store, it's also a benefit to community members that want to do any supplemental shopping at other stores. They'll see the benefit of Lidl moving in to generate competitive prices. They have, again, like I said, a very high standard of cleanliness, and they've had some research showing that some residents have stopped coming to this store, so they see this location as an attraction in a positive way to bring back to the community.
Let me ask you a question. Where is the entrance going to be?
If you see on the screen here, where it says existing grocery store, the double doors that we have on the far left, those are new doors that we are proposing to go into the store or into the small liquor box. Gotcha.
So it's as you're looking at the diagram plans of the building, it's to the left there. I see it.
Yeah, for the mouse. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Is that all that you wanted to make on your presentation? If it is, we'll move into either public comment section.
Yes, we just wanted to express that, this is very small specialty would otherwise be located in the grocery store if it weren't for needing to follow code and restrictions, which we're doing. And it's not meant to, again, attract large masses of people. It's there as here's something new and different that people can, experience on a very small scale. So
Denise,
happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
I have a quick follow-up question. Explain to us, please, regarding any proposed new signage regarding the liquor store.
There are 2 signs. There's one community sign that on the community sign just below Lidl, it will say Lidl Liquor. On the actual building itself, it's Lidl Food Market.
And would that sign be in the same location as the existing Piggly Wiggly sign that's out there now?
Yes, in the center, and in the very center is their food market logo, and then I'm getting it pulled up here so I can reference the visual for myself. Yes, in the very center where Piggly Wiggly is, it says Lidl and then Food Market, and then over nearby, or just above where the Lidl Liquor entrance is, it's just the Lidl Square. There's no reference to liquor on the facade of the building, only on the community monument sign.
Okay, thank you.
So just to touch on that, she was saying community sign. They went to Planning Commission last month for that group commercial development so that they could keep the sign where it is located and just change out the signage with updated brands.
Got it.
I have a question. Denise, you said they've studied traffic flow. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? Who's the they and what results they got?
Oh, sorry, yes, Lidl, the companies, as I was involved with seeing the documentation, but through conversation, and this is the reason that they, chose this location because of their positive results of, personally just going through the neighborhood, and I think they asked residents, but, they chose to come to this location because they felt like there was enough evidence to them that residents were not shopping at that Piggly Wiggly, that they had looked at other stores, but based on their own precedents of when they move into communities, they have seen obviously positive results because of the growth of their company, that they attract shoppers back to their location.
Any other questions? May we move into public comment?
Sure. I wanted to just say before we get going, just the letters that we received prior to the meeting that I forwarded to you all. We received the following in opposition from, and I'm sorry to the public if I mess up your name when I'm reading them, but from Coate, Hart, Kennedy, Beard, Cole, and Coleman. We also received in support Hoverud. Sorry, I butchered your name. And then we received this letter prior to the meeting that I'll read into the record. This was from David Crow. It was received at 3:30 today. I am a resident of the Heathwood neighborhood near the Piggly Wiggly on Divine Street. I would like to express my support for the Lidl property changes, including the liquor store. Lidl would be a great asset to the community and neighborhood, and I don't believe a liquor store in that area would be an issue at all. Thank you, David, of 1610 Wyndham Road. That is the only letter I received prior to the meeting that I did not forward to you all. I will let Erica chime in if there's anyone on the phone or if any other letters came in. I do see one email that just came in from a Regina Monteith. she was having issues calling in on the organization. In contrast, when Piggly Wiggly expanded in 2000, many meetings with neighbors, especially those on Allen's Way, were held. Regina Monteith.
Do we need to check, see if there's any phone calls or messages?
Yeah, I'll let Erica let us know. Real quick, I just want to say that phone number again, 855-925-2801. You'll need to enter the meeting code of 7959. And then if you wish to speak, please hit *3. Do we have anyone, Erica?
At this time, there are no callers, and I have not gotten any other letters.
Okay.
If you all don't mind, I'm going to say that we wait just a minute just because we got the one email from someone that was having phone issues. Now that I've said the number again, we'll just see if anyone else was having phone issues with the public input site, and then we'll proceed.
Okay.
So, we'll give it a minute and then just let us know if anyone new has popped on, and if not, we'll carry on.
Rachel,
Yes.
I do have one hand raised at this time. One speaker's ready.
Okay.
Put them on now.
Hello, my name is Regina Monteith. I was having trouble dialing in, but I was able to successfully.
Hello.
I do have one.
Rachel?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you. You're
Hello.
welcome to-
My name is Regina Monteith, and I was able to call in. I just wanted to. I was having trouble dialing. I just muted my Zoom.
Yeah, if you have your
screen.
computer on, mute that because you'll get double time.
I just wanted members of the board to look carefully at the numbers of letters from neighbors in the vicinity in Sherwood Forest who are strongly opposed to the addition of a liquor store at the Piggly Wiggly site. The site is in the midst of three neighborhoods, Sherwood Forest, Heathwood, and Shandon. There are plenty of liquor stores to the north, south, and east. We don't need one in the midst of three neighborhoods. The commercial site is literally embedded in those neighborhoods. It is across the street from the playground of St. Joseph's School, and St. Joseph Church. The applicant for this exception has not taken time to address any of the neighbors in my Sherwood Forest neighborhood. I live directly behind the Piggly Wiggly. My lot abuts the back of the Piggly Wiggly. When it expanded in 2000, there were many meetings held with me and neighbors on Allen's Way to ensure that the expansion would be in the spirit of our neighborhood. Little and whatever organizations they've chosen to do their marketing has not contacted any of us. I had to find out about this proposal from neighbors calling me and showing me images of the signs that were posted. I don't think that Little has shown very neighborly concern from the beginning. And I'm very distressed that the possibility of a liquor store is being considered. I raised 2 children in that house, as did 4 families before me in the course of its 100 years as an anchor in the Sherwood Forest neighborhood. Mr. Belsa must be turning over in his grave at the thought that liquor store is going to be right next to the home that he so lovingly built in 1920. I hope that you will reject this application. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Goodbye.
Thank you, Ms. Monty.
Do I need to wait for any other callers, or do I respond caller by caller basis?
We can wait.
We'll see if we have any other. We'll finish the public input and then we'll turn it over for rebuttal.
Okay.
So, Erica, did we have anyone else connect? Oh, sorry.
No, there's no other callers at this time.
All right,
And
thank
no
you.
letters.
Okay, thank you. Chuck, would you like to turn to applicant rebuttal, or did you want to?
I'm ready. Yeah. If we're
Okay.
ready to move on, let's go ahead. Let Denise.
All right.
Sure. Thank you for your time. Just wanted to again restate that, she had mentioned that there are already existing liquor stores in the area. And again, this is not your typical liquor store. It's a very small specialty item. These are like crafted, award-winning liquors that it's like a special occasion or something you want to try out when you make the splurge for the specialty cheese type of thing. And there's already alcohol being sold at this location. So again, with the beer and wine, that's in a grocery store, just like any typical grocery store. Only reason that they're having to call this a liquor store is because of liquor laws in this area. They were not allowed to have these particular items within the same retail box as the remaining part of the grocery store. So we had to put a separate entrance into this area. Again, it's such a small area, it could have easily been, a corner within the existing beer and wine section, but we were following the required regulations for alcohol and liquor sales, and that's why we have this separate retail box for these. And again, mentioning with schools and churches, again, this is for those that are of age to make the decision whether they want to shop here or not. Adults that are, if they're attending church of adult age, can make the decision whether they want to visit this location. It's meant to be for those that are already there for a shopping experience. So there is the liquor store sign on the community sign, but there's no advertisement of it on the side of the building. So it's not a large glaring, it's not meant to be the main reason that people come here to shop. It's an accessory to, you're already shopping there. And again, those that are attending school, I would assume if someone that's school age has already attended a grocery store, they have seen that there are alcoholic products, and because of the drinking age, they would not be able to purchase them in a grocery store or in this liquor box. no matter where the walls are placed around these items. It's simply just we had to have a separate entrance into this space where it would already typically be in your regular grocery store. And I appreciate everyone's time and would ask that you accept the special exception and allow this liquor box to be part of the already existing retail space.
Thank you very much. We can move to board discussion now. Unless anyone has a specific question of Denise, let's go ahead and move into board discussion.
I'll start, Chuck, kick off our discussion today. A liquor store request is never a very popular request. No matter where they are throughout the city, we have seen a lot of neighborhood opposition. And, that being said, they have to go somewhere. But I just want to preface that. I realize it's not a popular request. Looking at this objectively, the best I can, the 30,000-foot view, I tend to agree with some of the comments of the adjacent neighbor, Ms. Monteith. Look at where we are. To the west is the St. Catholics school church playground. To the east is Dunbar Funeral Home. To the north is Heathwood, and to the south is Shandon and Bloomwood. Some locations are appropriate for liquor stores, and I don't think this is one of them. It's not so much. I think the applicant did a good job of stating her case regarding the specialty nature of the items sold. I don't think the neighborhood's objection is so much that they're selling alcohol or even liquor. It's more some of the things that we've seen across our city that go on outside of these liquor stores that I think the community is really concerned about. It's, beer and wine is sold in the store, and that's understood. So I don't think it's so much the alcohol, but there is loitering. And some of these types of locations, they do increase undesirable activities and could potentially increase crime. And another thing, I'm not in favor of it to begin with, but the location of the proposed liquor box on the western side of the store is about as close as you could get to that schoolyard playground. I don't like it. I don't think it's appropriate for this location. And as I run through the specific criteria, I don't think it can meet number 4 because I think this does have an adverse impact on public safety. I don't think it meets number 7 because I don't think this is appropriate for its location and compatible with the adjacent uses in the vicinity of the property. And number 8, I think this could potentially adversely affect the public interest. So with all that being said, I'm not in favor of this. I don't think this is a good fit for the community or this property.
Gene, I couldn't disagree with you more.
That's why we're here.
Number 1, it's not a freestanding liquor store as a new tenant and part of a development. It is owned by a very well-run multinational company, and it's there for a specific reason, as opposed to just being a liquor store. It's part of the legal experience, and I get that 100%. Already beer and wine are being sold there, and are probably more, that's probably a more objectionable thing to have across from a school playground than a liquor store is. Because number 1, anybody that can walk into the grocery store and go buy cases and cases of Budweiser or Coors Light or wine or whatever, whereas they can't go into the liquor store unless they're over 21 years of age. So I think that there's a huge difference there. I do not believe that there actually, if you there isn't really in this specific immediate area a liquor store already in existence. You're going to have to go all the way below Beltline on Divine, or you're going to have to go into 5 Points on Divine. And same with Millwood. I mean, you know, you're not going to go until you get almost to Gervais Street. There's not going to be a store there. So it's serving the immediate area, and it's really not even intended to serve the immediate area. It's intended to serve the customers of Lidl who might want to try a specialty beverage that happens to be classified by the state of South Carolina as requiring a liquor license, and thus, since the city of Columbia requires a special exception for every single store that requires a liquor license to be had, regardless of the zoning, regardless of where it is, they have to have a special exception, as we all know that, because every time somebody wants to open a liquor store, we have to hear it. And I just feel like that this is very appropriate. I think that we'd be doing a huge disservice to the greater community if we denied it, and I think that it meets all of the criteria based on the testimony and the written testimony that we heard here today. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm going to take this moment and celebrate the instance where I'm in complete agreement with Chuck on this case. So I'm glad you stuck around for that to happen, Chuck. Yeah, I see this as a boutique sort of carve out within the existing building. I mean, I don't see any. I think any change to what's currently there relative to safety, traffic, nuisance levels, noise is negligible for what is being described in this particular application. So I agree. I think this is for me, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. This is part of the current footprint. This is customers will run in for their groceries, bring them out, and then stop back by for a bottle of whatever. It's not going to attract. It's not going to attract people from outside. You know, it's not going to attract people to the liquor store on its own. It's going to be an afterthought for convenience for the Lidl grocery shoppers.
Any other comments?
I'm kind of on the fence here because the boutique nature of what the applicant's describing is a lot less menacing than a huge liquor warehouse, a small liquor store. So while I agree with Gene, I certainly don't think a liquor store, full-blown liquor store, is appropriate for the area, being so, with the proximity of a school and church, a school playground and a church. But if what the applicant's describing, the boutique nature of specialty drinks, specialty bottles that customers in the grocery store can pick up on the way home, or I'm just on the fence. I'm a little on the fence. I'll listen to the rest of the board discussion and see, and make a decision. But I'm just on the fence right now.
I would keep going then, Marcel. So my comment that this is already an industry that's heavily regulated by the state, so that the distances to the school and the church or whoever, they still have to follow those regulations. And I just personally don't understand the schoolyard playground objection. I mean, are 10-year-olds trying to sneak into liquor stores? Is that the new thing? I mean, I don't.
We don't know.
This is not the kind of liquor store that you're going to see people lined up outside the door at 7:30 in the morning waiting on it to open. It's just simply not that kind of store. And so that's where I think it would be entirely different if it were a completely separate freestanding liquor store. I don't say entirely different, but definitely different than, you know, what's being offered now by a company that is not used to our laws in South Carolina about how we do it. These people are purveyors of merchandise all over the world, and so you know, they're trying to adjust to this local market as best they can. And you know, but this is part of the legal experience, and it's to me a very important part of it as well. So you know, I think that it would be a shame if we turn this down. And I can promise you that the greater community will embrace it once they complete it and get into operation.
I would feel entirely different, and I realize they cannot do this, but I would be 100% comfortable with it if it was contained within the existing store. I know they can't do that, but you know, why do you all think? What makes you think people won't be loitering outside of this potential store like they do many of the others throughout our city? That's my main objection. And I just looking on my computer, it's 200 feet from the playground. What's going to keep people from loitering there like they do at the other stores?
I'd like to let Denise answer that question, because I think that she can set, you know, the question is, what are they selling, you know, these half pint, you know, type cheap liquor that is what's you're seeing out there. That's what you're seeing going into it. You see stores like the one in the Bilo at the Gamecock. Okay, you can go in there and buy all kind of little shots and little plastic stuff that you can smuggle into the football game, or get a, you know, they've got you know, a half pint of vodka on sale for $1.50 or something like that. I mean, that's not what this is about. And I'd like to bring Denise back on and let her explain exactly, you know, what they're talking about, if that's okay with the board. And I think that's important to understand. What do y'all think? I mean, is it worthwhile doing that?
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
yeah. I mean, I think if the board's in agreement, we'd like to bring Denise back in and basically answer the question that Gene just posed as to why that wouldn't be the case here.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I don't see this as a place that people will be loitering, because I don't know where they would stand, honestly. I mean, I know obviously there's outside space, but it's a 21.5 by 20 foot store with shelves inside and a point of sale taking up that space as well. You know, and I haven't personally seen the bottles of these merchandise. It hasn't been revealed to me what they're going to have here. But in speaking with the representative for Lidl on this project, again, these products were described as this is the things that they have won awards for. Again, their specialty, like that boutique feel. And I don't envision people thinking they're going to smuggle, you know, that type of product in their coat to a football game type of thing. It's just not that type of product. You know, it's something that's very unique, and I think, you know, it may be things that people haven't even heard of before. So again, and they're not going to have large quantities of things there. It's, you know, it's less than 500 square feet. What is in that box is what's in that box for that day. And there's only so much that people would be able to buy at a time because of the limited size of the store. So, you know, you're not coming there to stock up for the next 3 months on, you know, potentially on your liquor. I have something special in mind. I wanted to try this unique item that isn't available in other locations, and Chuck, your words were perfect. It's part of the experience. You know, Lidl is national, and it's, you know, coming over from Germany here in the U.S. There's just unique items that they started and had in their European markets, and they're wanting to bring here for customers to be able to experience that you wouldn't find that particular item in any other liquor store or in any other grocery store, because it's a unique item that Lidl has developed, and they want to share with this location and to their customers.
I don't know if you can get your computer, but if you just Google Lidl liquor stores and see what they're offering, this is not. This is like, Portis rhubarb and ginger gin liqueur. Ignis French grain vodka. The price range in these are, I don't see anything less than $20 in here. So, that's the point that we're trying to make, is these are specialty type stuff that goes with their brand, and as Denise said, some of these things they make themselves, and so it's just it's part of what they are. So that's totally different than having a Gamecock high-low liquor store. As part of a tenant in this building. It's actually in any other market outside of South Carolina, it would be part of the grocery store. It would be inside the grocery store, be part of it as an offering there.
It also goes beyond what they offer. I don't know if you've been to a Lidl, the grounds are pretty well maintained. The parking lots are cleaned and monitored. It's a very welcoming sort of crisp experience, and all of the resources that are there to monitor the entire grounds for the grocery store will be available to monitor this little boutique liquor box that's only 20 by 20 in terms of its square footage within this 35,000 square foot box.
So Alex, if we're done with this discussion, we've got a long agenda. Gene, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I think these are all good, valid points. I stated my concerns earlier, and you all listened to them. So I'm comfortable with the applicant's testimony and some of the other board members. Chuck, yours, rebuttal to my statement. So sure, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request for the special exception to establish a liquor store here at this property.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Is there one? Was that an opposed or
Chug, that was Josh. That was me. I said,
okay,
yeah.
You opposed?
No, sorry, I was late. I said yes.
All right, gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So I think that's unanimous. Do you want to roll call or are we good, Rachel?
No, I did not hear any who opposed, so the motion passes. We will move on to the next case.
Thank you very much. Is it okay if I drop off the call?
Sure.
Of course, yes.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right, the next matter is a special exception, case 2020-0058. This is for 1517, 1513, also known as 1509 Gervais Street, and 1212 Bull Street. This is a special exception to establish an automotive repair shop. If the applicant is present, they're welcome to begin their presentation.
This is Jimmy Herlong. I'm the proposed owner. We have myself and my son Gus, who helps me in the business, and John Powell and Hoyt, who will be doing most of the talking. I just wanted to let you know what our, we want to be good neighbors with what we're trying to establish downtown. I have talked to one of the neighborhoods, Tom Godshall and the University Hill folks, and have talked to them a couple of times. We also talked to Matt Bogan, who was the former treasurer of that neighborhood association, and they are taking a neutral position from the Neighborhood Association, University Hill Association, and as a matter of fact, Matt Bogan was very much in favor of it. Gus, Gus, why don't you tell them who you've talked to as far as these neighbors will have approved? Gus, you're muted. All right, I don't hear Gus.
That's the mansion of 2020. You're muted.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I'll speak to it. I'll tell you if he
can y'all hear me?
Yes,
we can now. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm muted by the host. Now, all right, there we go. Now it says I'm unmuted. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. This is Gus Furlong. Thank y'all for hearing this. We one of the initiatives that I took on this project was trying to contact as many of the surrounding neighbors to the proposed project that we're trying to do here. Obviously, being in downtown, I just want to make sure that we are going to be good neighbors and that we put something out there that everybody can be proud of. And it started with actually the broker that we're using or the agent that we're using for the purchase of this property, reaching out to one of the neighbors on the immediate right side, just to kind of inform them of that this, there's some action going on this property we're looking at. This is the corner of the Gervais and Bull Street where the property has been for sale for some time. And we've not received any opposition from those parties on that side, at least at this point. As Dad said, he has reached out to Tom Godshall at the University Hill, and we have also sat down with Matt Bogan, who used to be on the board for that association, homeowners association back there, and he was very much in favor of it. We showed him what we wanted to do, which I think is on this slideshow here. He's actually emailed us saying that he, is very much in favor of this and thinks it'd be a great idea, which was great. And I also personally sat down with the president or the Student Bar Association president at the law school, which is directly across the street, and just to get their take on things. And the response was wanting to tweet out the renderings and some excitement of something going across the street versus the abandoned warehouse that's there now, which I found encouraging that that I told them not to do that, obviously. And then that conversation led into some additional conversations with the executive director for the University of South Carolina's executive director for their Office of Economic Engagement, and those conversations again showing the renderings and showing what talking through what we're proposing, what we want to do. And their response was that the proposed site is on the other side of Gervais. The students do not walk on that side of the street. The university does not have any issues with this proposed project. And then lastly, I also spoke with our neighbors on the other side where the old Dunbar funeral home is. They have the property that is immediately behind the office building on this property and on the side. So they're on two sides of us. I spoke with the president and the assistant vice president of the University Foundation, again, showing them the renderings and talking through what our intentions were with this project. And they have not given us any opposition as well. So I think, Dad, did I cover most everything from what we've been able to drum up as far as conversation?
Yes, thank you. And we'll turn it over to Hoyt and John Powell, our architect and civil engineer, and let y'all kind of talk through what the proposal is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. This is Hoyt, the civil engineer. Thanks, Gus. Thanks, Jimmy. So just to kind of give you a quick overview, Rachel, if you go back to that existing slide, just one page back, yeah, you can see we've got, give the street views, Rachel. One more page. You can see we've got a rather unattractive building that fronts Gervais Street. It's an old warehouse, and what they're proposing to do is to bring the building forward. We would eliminate the two driveways. One is a loading dock on the left side, and then an at-grade driveway on the right side. And we've actually had discussions with DOT. They're in favor of eliminating those driveways. Originally, we wanted to have an in and an out of this building, but due to site distance, we're just going to have an in. So we're just going to enter into the building. So we'll have basically one garage bay that you would enter off of Gervais, and then drive through the building, drop your car off. The workstations would be hidden in the building, and then you would exit out the rear of the building. So no parking is going to be seen from Gervais, just a facade out front. And so, Rachel, if you go to the site plan, next page, thanks. And so, obviously, all these variances and special exceptions are all kind of intertwined, but this gives you some idea of what we envision. So we would pull the building forward on Gervais so that we have a nice streetscape as opposed to what's there now that's kind of disjointed. And then if you go to the next slides, we'll probably let John kind of talk about how he's addressing the streetscape for this building. But I guess before we go into that, I know one of the requirements on the special exception is auto repair shops. And, you know, there are obviously some other auto repair shops in the neighborhood. There's a Goodyear, you know, there's a Firestone. But we feel like we've done a really good job of taking a pretty worn down building, giving a creative look to it, and utilizing it in a very different manner than they've used it. You know, we're going to have one bay, everything's going to be hidden. I think Firestone has 6 oversized bays, and the Goodyear has 12 bays. So, and we're just having one. So we feel like we're in a little bit different category than your typical auto repair shop. So with that, I'll leave that over to John so he can kind of explain the renderings. John, I think you're muted.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. First of all, thank you for reviewing this case. As Hoyt mentioned, this is not going to be a typical garage or repair shop from an architectural standpoint at all. Totally understand the need to make this more of an urban facade. And so what we've looked at is the way other cities have managed having repair shop type needs within the city. Obviously, this is within walking distance of downtown, and that's one of the things that makes it so appealing for this particular owner, is that there are so many professionals who will need to be able to drop their car off somewhere and walk. And so there are two aspects to this. One is that it is not a old school garage the way I think we've grown accustomed to it, but rather sort of a boutique type facility where you drive in off of Gervais, drop off your car in a one-way loading area inside the building, and then be able to leave and go to your office for the day. There'll be a waiting room that's sort of facing out towards Gervais Street, but the intent is not to at all reflect what I think the zoning ordinance is intended to prohibit, which is the old school idea of what a mechanic shop is. This is something different. So to explain the architecture, obviously we're going to have to go through the the DDRC on the design aspects. This is in the City Center East District, which is the area north of Gervais and east of Bull Street. And so we'll be following those guidelines. This design already largely complies with those, though we'll have to go through that process to refine it. This would not be the absolute finished product, but hopefully it's very much in keeping. As Hoyt mentioned, we'd be pulling the building forward to more address the streetscape. We'd be adding glass to give it more of a welcoming feel, even than what's there now. And of course, right now is an abandoned building. It is an industrial building. It's a warehouse facility that's been abandoned for a long time. The accounting business has had ownership has not been able to use it because they had no purpose for it. And so now we finally found a user that can activate this building as well as the office space. So we're excited about it. I don't believe that I don't believe the architecture or the use is really so much in violation or in opposition to what the intent of the zoning ordinance is, because we're trying to address it in such a different way. But obviously we welcome your questions. Hoyt is probably your best answer on zoning related questions, but I'd be glad to answer questions about the architecture and the intended design. And of course, with the owners on the line, they can answer more use and intended function of the shop itself.
What's the so you're going to do it's a right turn off of Gervais Street straight into the building?
That's right. So there's a median on Gervais, so it would only be a right turn in, and that's it. And then you would park your car and then exit through the rear of the building. And then when they finish the cars, we've got some parallel spaces is where they would probably store the cars, waiting for owners to come back, pick them up. So it would just be the right in. That's it.
If a car is turning right on Gervais Street, are they going to be blocking a lane of traffic while they're waiting on the door to open or anything like that?
I'm not following the question. Oh, you mean if the door is closed?
Like, so you got like say you're going there in the morning, you know how the traffic is, and you have room to. I mean, I know that there's parking spaces on that side of Gervais Street right now.
We would have to work with the city parking division to relocate the parallel spaces that are out front. So that's something that Rachel mentioned that we would need to do as well.
Right. So it'd be your intention,
Chuck, if that's a problem,
so that a car going out could actually pull out of the lane of traffic before they entered the building. Is what I'm getting at. It looks like to me.
I see where you're going. Yes, we would work with the city staff to try to eliminate maybe 2 or 3 of the parallel spaces there. And since we own the building that those spaces are in front of, I don't feel like that would be a big issue.
So to ask that question a little bit differently, so I go to get my car serviced at my car dealership, and it's a similar type of model. If I have a 9 o'clock appointment, I'm not the only person that has a 9 o'clock appointment. So how do you manage queuing of 3 or 4 cars that are arriving at the same time through one garage door on a busy street like Gervais?
Well, I think
this is Jimmy. This is Jimmy. We could probably fit, and I had measured it, we could probably fit 4 cars once you pull in the building. We'll have to manage that. But, I mean, the building is, John or Boyd, I don't know how deep it is, but there's probably room for 4 cars to go in to go inside the building. Of course, we could always pull them through and park them in the back if we had to, if that's a problem. For us, that would be a good problem.
I'll jump in.
The rest.
I can jump in a little bit here. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can, guys.
So the middle lane is where you would pull in. Again, since it is a non-traditional a building, it's going to be a little bit of a non-traditional process. But we've already got as far as a separate check-in process where the customers would be pulling in. But John, myself, and one of his teammates have measured out that 4 full-size trucks could fit in there pretty simply, which is not always going to be the case. I mean, 4 full-size trucks could mean 7, maybe even 8 sedans. But if you look at the picture on that's on the screen, there's also going to be an exit door put in on the back with the parking in the back. So, part of our job at this location or any of our locations is managing bay management and parking management. So that's not going to be any change for us. As far as when the customers check in, we shuttle them to either a parking spot or straight into the bay, or straight into the workspace that would be very close from where they're pulling in.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'll ask it. I mean, in my experience, even at a large dealership with 2 bays, oftentimes I've gotten there are 3 or 4 cars already parked inside, I wait for 10, 15 minutes before those cars are moved wherever they're going to be moved to get maintained before I can even pull in. Did y'all ever consider the idea that your parking lot is the more appropriate way to queue vehicles into your garage?
And I could probably answer some of that. A lot of that was dictated by DOT. Due to site distance, they did not want us to have an exit out. And so that kind of left us with an entrance in only.
Okay.
I mean, George, this is Jimmy. If that, obviously, if y'all were to approve this and that starts to happen, we're going to have to manage that. And that's what our guys at these stores do right now. It's a little different than this concept that we're in right now. Yeah, we may end up having to park cars in the back. If we have 10 cars show up at 7:30 or 8, we're going to have to put some cars in that back parking lot. So that's something we'll have to manage. That's what the back parking lot would be for. And we just may have to pull them on through and manage that parking like that. So, I mean, I don't see us, based on entering from Gervais, I don't foresee a lot of cars being lined up out on Gervais to try to get in. We would have to pull them on through under the back parking lot.
Much like a valet service, once it's checked in, there's the intentions are to have someone immediately shuttle that car out of the way and into a parking spot. Not as much like a dealership where they leave them sitting and there's a lot of space. That wasn't, obviously the space can be a little more constrained here than at a dealership, but a lot of the intentions would be utilizing the parking spot or straight into the workspace and out of the way of the entrance.
And then y'all are going to be utilizing the office building too, the existing offices, or is that separate?
No.
So that's another unique piece of this. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we're going to be in the front part of the office building. There's about 6 or 8 of us, and that's all we know at this point. That's all we have.
In addition to that, there is part of the the maintenance work task, a waiting room, staff spaces for that group within that building also. So it's not just the staff related needs of the auto shop, but also the service and the client relationship pieces would also be moved into that building.
Gotcha. Any other questions before we move on to public comment? Rachel, can we move on to public comment now?
Sure. I do not see any written statements that have come in, but I will defer to Erica to let us know if anyone's on the phone.
At this time, there's nobody who wishes to speak.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you very well. Did you say there's no one on the phone?
There's no one on the phone.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Do we need to wait any longer for public comment, Rachel? Or are we good to move on to board discussion?
We can give it a minute and then move on. So again, if anyone's on the line that wishes to speak, please feel free to hit *3 so that staff knows that you wish to speak to the board. So, because after I got that initial email on the previous case that someone was having issues calling in, I had several staff members test it out. So, and the line is working. So if you call the number and enter the code, you do get patched through to the public input site. So there is no issue with that phone line. Oh, and I'll check with Erica one more time. Erica, is there anyone on the line now?
No, still no callers.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Well, in that case, we'll move into board discussion then. I guess I would just like to say that I think that DOT, which is going to be handling, the egress, ingress into this site, is going to be a pretty tough customer for the applicant, one way or the other, and that's going to be handled, I think, in a way that they feel, if the DOT doesn't feel comfortable with it, they're not going to get the access that they like. I just feel like that they're trying right now to accommodate what DOT wants, which is in line with the best flow of traffic on both Gervais and Bull Street. So I think that, this is a local family-owned company that is not going to allow this an issue to happen. I know that they will manage that as best they can in order to keep it from being a problem. So I think it's a great use for that building. I think they meet the criteria, and I'm inclined to vote for approval.
Yeah, Chuck, I mean, I think, the way the renderings look, you go look at other cities that have repair shops like this, where they bring the facade out, they kind of blend it in with the surrounding area. And I think it's a very well done adaptive reuse of two existing buildings that are hard to do something with. So, I mean, yeah, the business will have they'll have to manage the traffic queue, as Jimmy said, and that'll be, if people feel like it becomes a problem, I mean, that's why you have options. Maybe they'll go other places, but I'm going to rely on DOT to handle that. I mean, that's what they're there for. And I just think the adaptive reuse, the proposed design, it looks good.
I agree with you, John. It's like a lot of these sites that we've seen John Powell and Hoyt work on and design are often very good designs. And this is just like all the rest. It's very attractive. It's going to take something that is relatively unattractive and just really, quite frankly, improve the situation. I think they did a good job of hiding the repair portion of the property here in the middle, where all repairs would be made inside of the closed building. So agree with you. I think it's a good design and a good fit for a good local business.
Yeah, I will comment that I agree with the comments about the adaptive reuse of this application. I think it's a really well done design strategy. I will also say that I have issues with this case relative, particularly, I don't believe the traffic, that it won't have an adverse impact on traffic, but I can be persuaded based on other board members' comfort level. I don't believe that this case squeaks by criteria number 5, which is the concentration and proliferation. So within 4 blocks on Gervais Street, this will be the 4th automotive repair shop. And all of them take up nearly half of the blocks that they occupy, including this one. So I don't know how you define concentration or proliferation of use any other way. And I understand that the applicant is arguing that the design mitigates that. I don't agree with that. I feel like this is now going to be the automotive repair district on Gervais Street. And there's no getting around that. if we approve this.
Did-
There's a reason why certain uses are not supposed to proliferate and be concentrated within our city. And this is one of those uses, and that's why it requires a special exception. So 4 and 4 blocks. I don't know how. I mean, the only thing worse would be 4 and 2 blocks, but I don't know how you get around that. Honestly, you have to come up with some really magical thinking to say that 4 auto repair stations in 4 blocks, all at this scale, is not a concentration within the urban fabric. It is.
George, didn't their application state that a couple of those had closed?
Yes, but one of the ones but they're not referring to the 3 that are in those 4 blocks. They refer to the small repair shop in the Exxon gas station across the street, and then they also used a example that's all the way up on Taylor and Sumter and Taylor, I think. So I don't even consider the one that closed on Taylor Street a factor in terms of concentration. If that was the only other one that we were talking about adjacency with, I would not have an issue here at all. 4 and 4 blocks. If this,
I mean, I'll say it is only one on the. It's the only one on the right side of the street. I mean, when people go into work in the morning, pull right in on it. I mean,
yeah, I mean, this is another reason where I feel like almost like we're put in a position of deciding whether or not are we protecting, are we creating a it runs against my grain in a way that say, okay, well, so everybody that's doing business here is protected and nobody has to compete against anybody else because the zoning laws allow them not to have to do that, because they don't have to compete for business because the zoning won't allow any other business to come in there. And, to me, the proliferation is about creating a nuisance. And that creating a nuisance is not the same thing as trying to serve a demand. And so, the demand is when people go downtown to work, they much prefer to drop their car off and walk to the office than they do to go out on Elmwood or go out Greystone Boulevard and have to Uber back into town in all the traffic. And so that's why this is a great place to have an automotive repair location. And I don't think that it creates a nuisance by its proliferation. So to say that, that it doesn't meet that criteria would be to say, okay, we're protecting all you guys, the Goodyears and the Firestones and all the guys that aren't even local. They don't even live in the community. That money doesn't even stay here. And, but we're got to protect them. You can't do it because, they're protected because of the proliferation law, because everybody that has to have a location here has to have there's not a zoning designation on that 4 blocks. It doesn't require a special exception for an automotive repair location. So there have been some that have shut down. It's not, over a period of time, there are fewer there than there are now. And so, I don't think we're any more than there were. If they put this in there, there won't be any more than there were, say, 5 years ago when the Shell station was repairing cars. So, why would we not approve it based on that criteria? I don't understand it. I think that I can see with a clear conscience vote without worrying about that being a violation and saying that they're not violating that.
and Chuck, I'll add to that. The second part of item number 5 says which concentration may be detrimental to the development or redevelopment of the area. And I don't see this as being detrimental.
I agree with that. Okay. Do we have any other comments or discussion? I would entertain a motion.
Yeah, Chuck, I'll make a motion to approve the special exception request and both variances subject to staff comments.
We're just doing the special exception right now.
Okay.
Just a special exception. We got to vote on everything separately.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the special exception subject to staff comments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And all opposed?
No.
One opposed? Okay.
Motion passes. We'll move on to the variances now. If you all prefer, they can discuss the variances together, but we will have to vote on them separately. Sorry, I went the wrong way. We'll get there. All right. So the next case is case 2020-0059, and we also have 0060. The first is a variance to the minimum off-street parking requirement. The second is a variance to the buffer transition yard requirement. The applicants are welcome to speak to both of them together if they'd like, but just again, the board will have to vote on them separately.
Boy, I think that would be you.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute there. Rachel, would you go? Yeah, the site plan would be great. Perfect. So the parking variance and the buffer variance are very much linked. So the situation we've got is they've got 38 parking spaces. However, the width is only 59 feet wide, and the city requires 61 feet in order to have an 18-foot parking bay, 25-foot drive aisle, and another 18-foot bay. And so, you know, we're kind of forced to reconfigure the parking lot. And then by reconfiguring the parking lot, it means we have to redo the landscaping, which means then we've kind of lost our grandfather status, so to speak. And so what we did was we created parking bays against the building and then parallel spaces on the exiting lane, which would be primarily used for, you know, storing cars that are completed, waiting for customers to pick up. And so what that left was really just only about 5 feet of a buffer area, of which there's none now. So that's an improvement. And right now, Rachel, will you go to the that existing picture?
I will have to go far back. Hold on. Okay. I had added those images to the special exception file.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Not the variance one. There we go.
There we go. So the lower right corner and then middle lower kind of show what's there now. It's just a chain link fence. It's asphalt from edge to edge, you know, building to building, sidewalk to building. It's just nothing but asphalt. So I think anything that we do is going to improve the situation. We're going to have an 8-foot tall wooden fence, landscaping, 5-foot landscaping buffer between us and our neighbor. Of course, we'll be adding tree islands. We'll have the 5-foot buffer along the sidewalk. And then the parking, we're only short 3 spaces with all this reconfiguration. Since we're in the downtown business district, we're able to count 50% of our parking with parallel spaces if we're within 400 feet. And we've got well over that, but we can only count 27 of the required 54 in parallel. And so with the new configuration, we only can get 24 on the site, so it's just 3 short. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I don't know that any John or Jimmy or anybody needs to add anything in, but welcome
And
to
this was not grandfathered because of the amount of intensive renovations? Is that what it was?
Well, no, yes and no. So we're probably going to exceed the threshold for renovation percentage. And then also, since we've got to, since the parking lot width currently is only 59 feet wide, we have to do something different to make it comply with the dimensional requirements. And so when we change the parking lot, then we kick into the landscaping, which then kicks us out of our grandfather status, so to speak. So it's kind of a catch-22, so to speak.
Gotcha. Well, there's nothing you can do about the width of the parking lot that used to be 2 full rows of parking down both sides.
Yeah, we're kind of stuck with that. So any questions? I mean, I'd be glad to entertain any questions you might have.
I think we can go into public comment on this, Rachel.
Sure. I don't see where any new written comments have come in, but I will defer to Erica to let us know if there's any callers on the line. Again, if you're on the phone listening and you wish to speak to the board, please press *3.
At this time, there's no one on the phone wishing to speak.
Thank you.
Very well. I think we can move into board discussion because I think we've been on this for quite a while, and I think anybody that had concerns would have called in by now. Again, I think that they have demonstrated that they meet all the criteria, for the special exception. For the variance, and it's definitely they're almost meeting the requirements on the parking, and they're really doing the very best that they can with a very difficult situation, trying to have a 70-year-old property, comply with the current zoning and parking and setback requirements. It's a difficult thing. I think they've done a really good job of doing that. It's the minimum necessary, and certainly will not be harmful to any of the neighbors.
The 8-foot wooden fence certainly helps too. I mean, looking at that other photo, you can see between both properties with nothing there, and now installing this nice looking row of trees and 8-foot fence. I mean, it's really great design. I agree with you, Chuck. I mean, it's as good as you could do. I mean, I'm impressed they could get as many spaces as they could. So
yeah,
I don't see any problem with this.
Okay. Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion for that.
And again, the first one will be for the off-street parking variance, and then a second motion will be needed for the landscaping requirements, the buffer transition yard.
Okay. So I'll make the motion. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the variance for the parking variance on site, based on the testimony and the written application. I believe the applicant has demonstrated that they meet all the criteria for this variance. And I'd like, so I'll make a motion to approve it, subject to stipulations and comments in the application by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hear none.
Motion passes.
And then secondly, I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance for the landscape requirements, also based on the written application and verbal testimony that we've heard here today. The applicant has demonstrated that they meet all the criteria for this variance, and that Such approval shall be subject to all stipulations and comments contained in the application by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries.
Passes.
Thank you all.
Yeah, and everyone that was, all applicants that were on for that case, you're welcome to sign off if you'd like.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you for it.
The next case on the regular agenda is case 2020-0061. This is a special exception to establish a liquor store at 2020 Gervais Street. If the applicant is present, they are welcome to begin their 10 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, if I might begin by introducing one of my associates, Peter O'Reilly. We have a number of people here. Instead of having each one of them speak, most all of them own businesses in close proximity to the proposed location. They're all here to show their support for the application. If I could ask Mr. O'Reilly to tell you who they are.
If you may. And I apologize if I butcher anybody's names, but we got JT, the car right here. He's the son of Andy and Rita, the car, and they are a family business. They have actually been owners of the Shell station for a good while. And then we're gonna have KU Patel back there. He has a business extremely close that he's owned for 7 years. It's the Cheap Way down the street. Raj Car, he's friends, also another business owner, convenience store. Then we have Mr. and Mrs. Tucker back here. They own the College Mart within the city limits. Harish Patel, right there, been their friend for 10 years. He owns a business in Richland County, another convenience store. We got Noble, Raj, where's Noble? Well, he just walked out, I think, to go to the restroom, but he's worked for them for 8 years. Then we got BJ, family. He's a brother. He also owns a business. He owns a C-Mart, but he's over by Lake Murray.
Right. And Mr. Chairman, if I might, the last time we discussed the property in question, we discussed the possibility of a liquor store. My clients were told that before they came in and asked a variance, they might want to consider going ahead and getting a liquor license. They have gone to the Department of Revenue, where they have secured a license to open a liquor store at the location. I believe we have provided you with a copy of that. At the hearing, many of the questions, which I'm sure you will ask, were considered by the Department of Revenue and the Administrative Law Court. The Administrative Law Court heard protests from probably the same people we have letters from. The Administrative Law Court determined that the location was a suitable location for the opening of a liquor store. Property is zoned commercial. It is on one of the main collector streets in the city of Columbia. It is located at an intersection, so there is easy access in, easy access out. It is expected to be a relatively low volume location, so there will not be any way there could be conceivably any major change to the traffic patterns. The property is brand spanking new. It is well maintained. It is a major improvement to what used to be there. The property is modern construction. It is modern electrical. The signage will be limited on the property. The convenience store to which it is adjacent has a good neighbor plan. The people who are making the application for the liquor store, the applicant is a part owner of the location where the convenience store is. They have also adopted a good neighbor plan. The applicant has been in business at this location for a serious piece of time, never once any form of citation for violation of any law, never once any citation for littering, never once any citation for loitering, never once had any form of legal problem with the police at all. There is a petition signed for over, I believe, 230 some odd residents of the county who have asked you to approve the location. The parking is more than adequate. The parking is new, well lined, well accessible. This is not a bar. It is not a restaurant. There will be no on-premises consumption allowed. This is for sales of off-premises consumption only. The location, again, is clean, well lighted, brand spanking new. Loitering and panhandling will not be allowed. The space is presently empty. There is no one there. There's also a restaurant space on the other side, which is also empty at this time. There are no other stores that we know of on Gervais Street. Certainly none within any close proximity. The issue of saturation has been considered by the Department of Revenue. The Department of Revenue, as well as the Administrative Law Court, has determined that there is no oversaturation of off-premises liquor stores in the area. The location is family-owned, family-operated. There has never been any type of violation of any type. If we look at the various criteria for a variance, there is no evidence at all from anybody that there would be any substantial adverse impact on vehicular traffic or on the area. The proposed exception should not have any adverse impact on any adjoining property. The sale of liquor to go is lawful and has been permitted by the state of South Carolina. There is no indication there will be any increase in noise, glare, vibration, fumes, odors, or obstructions of air and light. There is no indication of any substantial adverse area on the public. There are numerous bars in the area which even allow on-premises consumption, but we will certainly not be allowing on-premises consumption, and there is no indication at all that we will be adding to any form of drunkenness or anything else in the area. The establishment doesn't create a concentration or proliferation of the same types of locations in the area. It is totally consistent with the character of the area, which is commercial. This is, I believe, in the 5 Points overlay district. And that is basically a commercial area of small mom and pop type businesses. This is no more than a small mom and pop type business operated by private citizens. The public policy of the City of Columbia is to encourage the development of more minority businesses. This business will be operated by a minority family. Certainly, if the public policy of the city is to encourage minority businesses to be operated, this location would meet that criteria and would be consistent with the stated public policy of the City of Columbia. The location is certainly a commercial location in a commercial district. It is a small location. It is not a major big box store. It would certainly be consistent with the character of the underlying district. There certainly is nothing in the record to indicate it would be out of character with the underlying district. There is nothing to indicate this location is not compatible with the permitted usage, and there's nothing to indicate at all. There's not one fact in this record to indicate that the sale of liquor to go, an off-site location, would have any adverse impact upon the public, other than the fact that they're selling alcohol to people to take home with them, which I guess some people do have objection to, but it is a perfectly lawful activity. And quite frankly, I have bottles of liquor at my home. I do not think that that particular fact adversely affects anybody. Basically, if we look at the 8 criteria, there is absolutely nothing in this record to indicate that there's any reason why the variance should be granted as a matter of law. My clients are here and certainly willing to answer any questions you may have. They're fine people. They've made a major investment in the area. The investment they have made has seriously improved the appearance of the corner. And with that, we are available to you to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Is there any, I have a quick question. So on the site plan, what retail space is the proposed location of the liquor store?
I believe it is the section C, which is the portion, we're looking at the portion to the right. It's about 1,000 square feet. It's small.
Got it. I see it.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
And you can see on the site plan, serious adequate parking. There's simply no problem parking, ingress, egress, or anything.
Yeah, it's a good location. Any questions or comments from anybody on the board before we go to public comment? Okay. Can we go to public comment, please, Rachel?
Sure. And before we go, I would just want to put on the record the letters that were provided to the board ahead of time. Those letters were received from Drennan, Marks, Lucas, the Martin Luther King Lower Waverly Neighborhood Association, and the 5 Points Association. Let me see if we have, I don't see any new written comments, but I do believe Erica had mentioned that there was someone on the line. Erica, is that still the case?
Yes, there's one person. I can connect them now.
Okay.
Hi there, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Please state your name.
This is Kelsey Hennigan. Kelsey Hennigan, I'm the Executive Director of the 5 Points Association. Just to echo our letter of opposition, just to offer one quick comment. Similar to the many concerning factors that we just heard with Leo, like loitering and the reasons stated in our letter of opposition, the 5 Points Association and many of the merchants it represents are not in favor of a full liquor store here. As an association, we want to show our support for our surrounding neighborhoods who are also opposed to this. There has been evidence of alcohol sold there that is then consumed within the streets of 5 Points, and that concludes our opposition.
Very good. Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Any other callers at this time? I guess we can wait a little bit if we need to.
Yeah, and I'll just say too, just if any callers are on the line that wish to speak, again, you need to hit *3 so that staff is aware you wish to speak. So we can give it another minute just to make sure and then move on. All right, Erica, has anybody, any further callers?
No, we have no new callers.
All right, thank you. And I don't see any new written statements that have come into the COC board meeting email address.
Okay, well, in that case, let's move into board discussion. I mean, I will say that, you know, I'm looking at a Google map and it is, you know, you're looking at, there's definitely not a proliferation here. I don't see that as one at all. Just because of the, I mean, I think that you're looking at Rosewood Drive or Forest Acres or even West Columbia, you know, before you run into one. So I think also, I'd like to say that I do think they've done a great job in redeveloping that corner. It looks much better than it has in the past.
Thank you. I think it does too. I appreciate that, Mr. Sellers.
You know, based on the location of the site, I don't really understand the Five Points Association's objection to this. I mean, you got a lot of bars in the area. Why can you go in those bars and pay $5 or $6 for an ounce of it when you can go here and buy some and take it home? I mean, this is the kind of site to me that it is appropriate. I mean, they got to go somewhere, and here on a entertainment and you know, district like this, I think it's totally appropriate.
And I would also just add that they already have approval from the state or from the ALJ. So they've done their diligence there.
I agree. Any other discussion?
I agree.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we approve this request based on the written application and the testimony of the applicant today, that they have met the criteria for the special exception, and that we approve the special exception subject to all stipulations and comments in the application by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, now we are at a period of executive session. If the board so chooses to go into that session by motion. During that time, staff and everyone on the call other than Pete Balthaser and the board will be kicked back into the waiting room. So if you're on public input or you're listening via audio, there will be a period of time where you're unable to hear the board while they're in executive session. Once they come back out of session, audio will kick back on. So we will slowly begin kicking everybody off as soon as the board makes a motion to go into session.
I'd like to go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that the board enters executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
All right, so please just hold off until everyone is gone.
I'll make a motion to terminate executive session and that no action was taken by the board.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. I hear none. Okay, so we're back. We're back in our public session, and Rachel, I guess we're ready for our next case.
All right, the next matter on the agenda is a request for action submitted regarding case 2020-0040 That was for 2022, 2034, 2040 Marion Street, and 1408, 1414, and 1420 Elmwood Avenue, as well as 2019 Bull Street. This was heard at the September 3rd meeting regarding a special exception for a convenience store and a gasoline service station. So the attorney that submitted the request for action is available for any questions from the board.
Drew, we read your letter. Do you want to just speak to what that is, what you're requesting for the board today?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sally and members of the board. At the hearing, the last hearing in September, we have really two concerns. The first concern is whether Ms. Stevens properly voted. The second concern is regarding the motions and the votes that were held after the hearing and the board discussion.
Let me just pause you right there for 1 second. So since we have Ms. Stevens here, Jenna, did you hear the entire presentation? I know that you were not announced, but you were on the phone, before you were announced. Were you able to hear the entire presentation? You're muted, yeah.
Yeah, I was on the Zoom call well before I was announced. Rachel was just waiting for, I think, a polite time to let me in. But I was also able to hear from the public call-in because I was having Zoom internet problems. Right. But yes, I heard the entire presentation.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to get that out while I had it on my mind. Drew, just wanted to make sure that was addressed.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think we all understand that the Zoom method is not perfect. But in going back and looking at it, there was a quorum call. I think the roll call was at about 4.5 minutes using the YouTube time, and I don't think Ms. Stevens was there at that time. Rachel might remember differently, but I believe that a quorum was announced with 5.
That's correct. She was not on during the vote for the consent agenda, which was heard prior to the regular agenda. So okay. I believe she was stating that she had to listen on the public input site, so she wouldn't have been able to respond to the roll call when that happened. So she was not present for that first vote.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. Thank you for that information. I'm glad that she was able to participate at least, or at least with our presentation. So if you like, I can move on to the second concern.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the second concern was dealt with the vote. So I think Mr. Speed was the only board member who was not present. So we had 6. And after the public comment and after the rebuttal, the discussion took place, and we were not. Murphy was not participating in that. And then, as I outlined in my letter, and actually as a housekeeping matter, in my letter, there were actually 3 motions and 3 votes. I only mentioned 2. I believe Mr. Sally made the first motion to approve our request for the gasoline service station. We had to do two special exception requests, but they had to be voted on separately. That motion was made and seconded, and it was 3 for and 3 against. And I believe at that time, Ms. Bailey stated that the motion failed. There may have been some more discussion, and then Mr. Schaefer made a motion on the same special exception request to deny it, and it was seconded. And at that time, 3 for and 3 against, another tie.
Are you saying 4? Oh. Are you saying the
Chuck,
word?
He's saying FOR.
I'm sorry, ayes. 3 in favor, 3 in opposition.
Thank you. Okay, just for that clarification.
So that motion was made and voted on, and it tied 3-3. And then Mr. Schaefer made a motion to deny the second special exception request, which was on the convenience store. And again, there were 3 in favor of that motion and 3 against. And so I believe at the end of each of those, the conclusion of each of those votes, Ms. Bailey said the motion failed. And so there's some, I think, confusion as to what that actually means. And I took the position in my letter that if it ties, it fails. Well, then the converse of maybe what the intended motion meant would be the actual result. So a motion to deny that fails, I think, could be at least argued that it would actually be approved. And so I think what we would like to do, because of this awkward state I think we're in, is we believe we should have a de novo hearing again before the full board and an opportunity to present the full application like we did in September. And we're happy to do that in November or at such time as the board might decide it wants to hear it.
Gotcha.
I think that serves the interest of I think that serves Murphy's interest, and I think that really serves the public's interest, because everybody would be able to, to restate the case, and then we could have a proper voting procedure.
Okay. I appreciate that. So we got a number of ways we can go. I'd like to invite the board, if there's any comments or discussion the board would like to make in regards to this. Please do so at this time, and then we can decide how we want to proceed after we've had a little bit of input from the board. I will say this, I do believe that that's probably the best way to clear this up. I do believe that there is ambiguity in the vote from last time, and that would be my thinking that it would just be come back up and as a reapplication, re-advertise, have public notice, and be voted on by the board again. I'm probably not going to be around, but I think that's still what should happen, because I think that there's too much cloud over the decision right now that we made previously. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't hear anything else. I don't want to be the only one to speak, but I think that what I'd like to do procedurally wise, any motion that we do is that we vote by roll call on that motion, just so that there's not any doubt about the votes.
Well, if I may, has there been a motion made?
I didn't hear one.
No.
Okay. Now, and I didn't think about this earlier. Is Mr. Speed, is he still on the call right now?
He is.
It looks like he is.
He's muted.
Okay. And maybe we can get the applicant's take on this also. I don't know what the board intends to do, whether it intends to take any action right now or not. But I'm not sure that Mr. Speed should have any involvement in a matter that he was not here to consider the last go around.
Pete, if I may, I don't think the rules and procedures necessarily support him being involved in it, just because it states that for a board member to act on a matter, they have to hear the case. So
right.
That's just.
Well, if I may, we're not speaking to the merits of the application, and I was very careful not to do that. I think we're speaking to the merits of action that was taken by the board. And I think it's a separate issue, and I think that Mr. Speed, as a member of the board, can certainly vote on that.
I think that Mr. Speed has been fully apprised of the situation that we would either do now or decide, and it would not be anything. I agree with that statement. It has nothing to do with the actual application or not. Procedurally, I don't think that's correct.
Well, there's not a motion on the table right now. Again, I don't even know if there's going to be a motion made. If there is one, I guess we'll just have to see what happens with that. And but I wanted to bring that up. You know, at this point, I don't know that we can. I'll just leave it at that at this point.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make a motion, and I'm going to make a motion that we vacate both the votes from the previous hearing on this application, and that the applicant be allowed to submit application pursuant to requirements and guidelines and advertising and public notice, and at some point in the future to be reheard.
Doug, I'm sorry. Audio kind of cut out for me. I don't know if it was on my end or yours. You froze there for a minute. I heard the beginning. I heard you talk about vacating the votes.
Did you hear it all, Pete?
I did. I mean, basically, it was just a motion to vacate the votes from the previous hearing and to send the matter back to be re-advertised for a I don't know if you used the term de novo hearing, but to be re-advertised for a new hearing. I think that was the main basis of your motion. I would ask just if you could and if you feel this is proper, when you were speaking earlier, you mentioned that that you believe there was ambiguity in the votes from the previous meeting, and there was too much cloud over the possible decision from the previous meeting. I would ask maybe you amend your motion or supplement your motion to state that as the basis for the motion.
That is the basis of the motion, which is there's ambiguity in the vote, and so I think the only way to properly get past that ambiguity is to vacate the votes and have the applicant resubmit applications through all the public process as if it were a new application, and it required it to allow advertising and everything else that would be required so that the public is properly notified that this proposal is coming back before the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, Mrs. Bailey.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Pete, I think you hit the nail. I was going to amend the motion based on the unusual nature of the split vote and also the conflicting votes. So, I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm glad that we did that.
All right, Mr. Sally?
Aye.
Mr. Dinkins?
No.
Mr. Primus?
No.
Mr. Schaefer?
No.
Ms. Stevens?
No.
Mr. Gregory?
Yes.
Mr. Speed?
You're muted.
Josh? You're muted.
Is he still on the call?
His number is shown. There he goes.
Hello. Yes.
All right, the motion fails.
Okay.
4-3 with 4 opposed.
Would anybody else like to make a motion?
It is, I will say it's not necessary. The board can certainly entertain any motions that it wants to, but it is not necessary to make any motion at this time.
Well, I would say my only motion that I would like to make is that we move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I believe the motion carries.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thanks everybody for your